Well, here goes nothing. Welcome to my new room. We have Chucky over there, Chucky over here, and we have my brain over here. As you can hear from my very sexy voice, I am slightly unwell. Hello, and welcome to me screaming into the void. Please forgive my voice. I have become ill once again because I just watched Until Dawn, and I thought I'm going to talk about it to you, whoever it is that is floating out there with me in the void, because I actually liked it. And one of the few, if not the only game I have ever played in my life. I have a reference. Yay! If my eyes look glossy, it's because I'm in a fever dream. Just started, so I thought I would record it now before it gets worse. Because when it gets worse, you know how it gets. Help. Until Dawn, the movie. I was with a whole cinema filled with horror freaks, and it was the best experience ever because everyone laughed at the same things. It was like everyone realized that was a movie trope and that was a movie trope and this is a horror trope and that is a horror trope, and everyone's like, ha 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 ha. That's hilarious. Sometimes when you sit in cinemas and you're with people who don't like horror or are like squeamish, then you sometimes hear them like, I don't like that. That is gross.
Okay.
Until Dawn is a remake of the slasher game with Rami Malek, Hayden Panettiere, and Wendy Goons. I liked the game and I liked the movie, even though the movie has nothing really to do with the story that we get in the game. Let's get that straight from the beginning. The movie is set in the exact same universe, but in a completely different setting. It's summer, there is no cabin on top of a hill in the middle of nowhere that has been snowed in. Rami Malek is not in it. Hayden Panettiere is also not in it. However, we do still get Peter Stormare as the wonderful Dr. Hill. Not the same Dr. Hill, another Dr. Hill, but the same. Does that make sense? Sure it does. Movie logic. There is always movie logic. And I will never shy away from explaining things away with movie logic. Let's get into the movie and talk a bit about why I liked it so much. The movie was directed by David Sandberg, who was the same director who did Lights Out and Annabelle Creation. I was a fan of Lights Out, wasn't a fan of Annabelle Creation, but that is just preference. I know that some people actually enjoyed it. The movie was written by Gary Doberman and Blair Butler. Gary Doberman is the same guy who wrote Salem's Lot, all the Annabelles, and The Nun. So he was very much also in the Conjuring universe. And Blair Butler co-wrote with Doberman. She's the one who wrote The Invitation, Hellfest, Polaroid. You also notice in the script that there is a lot of comedic elements to it. The characters riff off of each other, and it's pretty fun. The plot summary basically is, imagine the skeleton of it is the same as the game, but even the director said that the game is like 10 hours long, and they couldn't just take that premise and apply it to a movie, because he said basically you would be watching somebody gaming. And I completely understand what he meant by it. And I also like that he added a lot of elements of lighting in it that were taken from the game. Also a little bit of a nod to Lights Out. However, I think Lights Out was more of a testing ground, and Until Dawn was where he was able to flourish with the lighting. What I also liked about this movie was that there were almost only practical effects, and you know me. If you're gonna give me practical effects, I'm going to be happy as a clam. And there's a lot of in-camera practical effects, and just, the characters are amazing, especially the creature features. So what is this movie about? 5 people stuck in a time loop. They have to survive until dawn for them to be able to win. Clover, whose sister Melanie disappeared a year ago, and she goes to this remote valley to seek for answers. We get our first view of Peter Stormare. For anyone who has gamed the game, it's a complete dead giveaway. I guess we're going to venture into teeny tiny spoiler territory. I am not going to spoil the movie this time just because the premise is so simple that I don't feel like we should get into a deep dive of it all, especially because this movie is more of a fun watch than anything else. Tiny little spoiler, we see Peter Stormare already in the first 10 minutes when we have this group of friends who's driving to this valley. The friends think to kind of make peace with the fact that Melanie has disappeared, but Clover has this kind of hidden agenda where she secretly is hoping to find her sister. They go into the gas station, and the gas station employee is none other than Peter Stormare. If you, as a viewer, know who he is and you know what his character is in the game, he's acting very suspicious. He's like, yes, I have seen this girl. She's very pretty. Because Clover shows a picture of her sister to him, and he's like, she went into this valley, so you might find out something there in the visitor center. It's pouring rain. As soon as they actually reach the visitor center and this remote village that is not a village anymore because it has been destroyed because it was an ancient coal mine, there is like this wall of rain, and then there is just no rain anymore. And already there, they should have, in my opinion, just turned back and be like, no. So who's the cast? We have Ella Rubin as Clover, Michael Cimino as Max, Odessa Azion as Nina, Ji Young Yoo as Megan, Belmont Cameli as Abel, Maya Mitchell as Melanie, and Peter Stormare as Dr. Alan J. Hill. The characters are pretty much your basic 5 that you usually get. You have the girl who has a mission, the girl who's dragging along her umpteenth boyfriend, and that's basically her character trait. I found that kind of weird. Her trait is basically she has a lot of boyfriends. I'm like, okay. No, sorry, of course. Her now boyfriend is psych major, and he says it a couple of times, and he's highly annoying. He also gets killed a couple of times in a very nice way. Listen, that's not a spoiler. They're stuck in a time loop. They get killed a bunch of times in the time loop, and they keep coming back. That's just the premise of the story. Don't come at me. Michael Cimino, who plays Max, plays this lost puppy love golden retriever who runs after Clover wherever she goes. Ji Young Yoo, who plays Megan, she plays the character who has these premonitions and can feel stuff, which I personally found a bit annoying. And it didn't really bring much to the story. Except once she pointed at the table and then they opened a drawer and there was stuff in it. What I also liked about this movie was that there is a lot of references to the game, because in the game you have to find out stuff also to survive. Like you can't just shoot stuff. There is Wendigos, there is other creatures. In this movie particularly, there is serial killers in masks. I'm putting quotes because these characters seem to be having all supernatural features. Like the serial killers have these supernatural strengths and nobody can really kill them per se. Then you have a witch, you have Wendigos as usual. I'm very happy that they kept the Wendigos in it. The creature features are fantastic. The SFX team did a genius job in all the deaths. I'm not going to get into any details of any deaths because there's so much fun. There is this one scene where they drink water. I'm not gonna say more. Listen, them dying is not a spoiler because the premise is very clear. They're stuck in a time loop, they keep getting killed off, and they keep coming back to life. So the practical effects were done by Applied Arts FX Studio, aka the team behind Final Destination, Thanksgiving, Hereditary, and Evolution, to just name a few. I loved Evolution, highly recommend. Kaka! Kaka! Tuki tuki, you are so beautiful. to me. That scene is just gold. Nobody can tell me different, okay? I know a lot of people found that movie really stupid. Back to the movie. The connections to the original game. The film introduces new characters, new settings, but keeps some connection with the game that was done in 2015. Peter Stormare returns as Dr. J. Allen Hill. Director David Sandberg has also teased that Hill's role is pivotal to the film's story and is not just a cameo, which is true. I have watched the movie, so I should know. The time loop mechanism is the same as in the game. You have this hourglass that turns. The movie uses a time loop structure where it's always the same night. It's multiple timelines. Each one is deadlier than the last. There is this one timeline that I love so much. Yes, it's still the water one. So the format mirrors very much the butterfly effect from the game, where different choices come with different outcomes, which also means, and that was the fun part about the game, however many times you actually played the game, you always had a different outcome. So even here, and that's what I like about this movie, is that you will always have a different timeline and different things happening to the characters, which makes the movie, again, not as boring. In Happy Death Day, it worked. No matter what you did, the outcome was always the same. However, I do like when time loops add in a little zhuzh, and that is true to the game, which is good on them. Here, instead of the player's input, it's all about who survives long enough to remember what happened last time. Because some of the players' characters, they forget what happened the last time, which ups the ante a little bit more and makes the character make some very weird choices and sometimes also a little dumb choices. But on the other hand, I don't think anyone would act very John Wicky as a normal person if stuck in a time loop. Let's just kill them all. What I also appreciated about this movie was that each time they loop back, it brings in a new horror element. This whole movie is an ode to horror. We have the Wendigos, a witch, ghosts, the slashers. I like the slashers a lot because they all wear these very creepy clown masks and they have these tiny little elements of, for example, nails hammered into the side of their heads. And I also like the settings a lot. The settings do reveal parts of the story, which makes you kind of play along a bit. You're looking for clues yourself too. And there is this wall of missing persons, and when you see it the first time, the director himself is on it. It does not feel gimmicky. It feels more like a game, which is exactly what at least me as a viewer was wishing for. The things I particularly liked that they took over from the game. The Wendigos, for sure. Loved the Wendigos. There were a couple of scenes also with the lighting. He plays a lot with the flashlights, which you also have in the game. Mostly it's well lit, but then there are these scenes where everything goes dark and then you have only these flashlights. You have this red light scene. I don't know if you remember in the game, but when the red light is on, you're not supposed to move. And you have this Wendigo. Every time that the red light goes off, you don't see him. And then when the red light goes on, it's like with those cat videos where the cat keeps coming closer. Then you have a couple of jump scares where I even had to jump, again involving the Wendigos. Yeah, okay, fine. I'm a sucker for jump scares. If they are well made, if you caught me, these gotcha moments, there is one. There is one particular one, and I'm wondering if you will also get the gotcha moment. You're like, no, I've been caught. No! Clover, for me personally, was slightly annoying. Melanie, same. Actually, all the characters were slightly annoying, which again leans into the whole 5 teens going to the woods and get chopped up trope, so I don't mind it. But they all have a little bit this whiny, annoying character flaw. But by the end of the movie, you kind of root for them. At least I was. By the end, I was like, okay, fine. Let's hope you survive. I'm so sorry you have to go through this. Fun fact, the Wendigos are played by real dancers because the director wanted to add this creepy, elegant, and inhuman flavor to them. There is this one scene that I absolutely adored. It's all in found footage style because they have now gone through several loops and they find the cell phone of the psych major and they click on every video to see what's happening. Again, it's another element that the director was like, which are all the horror movie tropes and effects that I like? I'm gonna put them all in one movie. If there is a movie that you can do that with, it's Until Dawn. So thank you for that. There's this one scene where it's clear that the cell phone has been slid across the floor and they just yeeted an Alexa A6 across the floor. For those who don't know, very expensive camera. I can already see my editor just wincing when I'm recounting this.
Are you sure about that?
And they just yeeted it across the floor to get the shot. So kudos to them for just being like, everything for this movie. We're just gonna throw a really expensive camera across the floor. There is also this VHS scene where you see the wife of the director who plays a fake reporter talking about the town, mining accident, and Now we're gonna get into the Easter eggs, the posters in the credit scenes of the missing people. These are all the real casts and crews and their childhood pictures. There is Joshua Washington's patient file that shows up on Dr. Hill's desk. If you don't know who that is Rami Malek's name in the game. And apparently, and I'm really looking forward to this, since there is always alternate endings in the game, we are gonna get one in the home release. So as soon as the DVD comes out or the Blu-ray or whatever it is that you're gonna get, we will have an alternate ending and I will be watching it. And the Wendigo sounds are from the original game. So basically this movie is like a horror mixtape for us horror freaks. There is even this one, oh my God, there is this one scene that I cannot get out of my head, okay? So one of the characters goes into a room and a chair is creaking. You know, those rocking chairs. And instead of just getting out of the room because it's a rocking chair that is moving on its own, no, he goes towards it. And he's like, I'm going to stop it from rocking. And then he turns around. And then it starts rocking again. And he stops it from rocking again. And he turns around. And then it rocks again. And then he goes back to the chair. And suddenly there is this clown. Puppet. Sitting on the chair. At the latest, at this moment, I would have run out of the room. Sir, what the hell? He doesn't. He picks up the clown and drop kicks it to the ceiling. I'm not gonna say more. I'm sorry. I had to say something about that scene. How? Why? Why would you do that? So those were my thoughts on the movie. As you can see, I'm actually very much looking forward to seeing it a second time. We'll see with the home release how many alternate endings there are. I'm guessing there is only going to be one. No, by the way, there is no post-credit scene. I waited through the entire thing and I didn't see any post-credit scenes, sadly enough. For all those who usually hurry away, you may do that. You don't have to stay for the credits. Sorry for everyone who was in the movie and likes sitting in the seats and waiting for the credits to come, but people like me just like to watch the movie and then research it after from my comfy sofa. Watch it. It's a lot of fun. Don't think too deeply about it. There is a lot of nice elements. There is definitely a couple of jump scares that got me. Very nice special effects. The actors were fun to watch. There was a nice banter going on. And Peter Stormare, just, he can do no wrong. Fun little tidbit. He came with a Hello Kitty backpack to set. And that just makes me like him even more. If you liked this review, smash that like button like a Wendigo breaking into a cabin and subscribe. And if not, then get out of here. It's fine. I'm not gonna waste a tear on you. This was me screaming into the void, signing off. Bye.